All right. Oh, that is a very disturbing photo, Mr. Rothar Lee. Can you do a budget sharpening stone listing price and rank of what is the best budget sharpening stone to buy? Okay, so I've discussed this in a couple of videos already, but I do have a kit in the video description that actually lists all the stones I have used and liked. Okay, so best budget stone, if you guys want a bare minimum stone for $10 to $12, the Sharp Pebble or the Whetstone Cutlery 400 1000 grit stone is a really decent stone. I've used it maybe a dozen times at this point. It's very much true to grit. The 400 grit level or 400 grit side is actually very fast wearing, so just be aware of that. But the 1000 grit side is actually very responsive. It's a soaking stone. It's very true to grit, so I really like that stone on the 1000 grit side. The 400 I don't use very often. I only use it to correct knives that are very dull. But the 1000 grit, I actually really like that as a $10 stone. The next stone above that is the King 1000. The King 1000 is a very good quality stone for $20 to $25. They do fluctuate in price depending on when you buy them in the season or where you buy them. I generally get my stones from a store, or the King stones from a place on eBay or on Amazon. They're going to be fine. And again, it's going to be $20 to $25 depending on when in the season you buy that. The next stone above that is going to be the Cyrax 1000. It's a soaking stone. Definitely one of my favorite stones. You're jumping massively in terms of overall quality, price, and performance from the King 1000 to the Cyrax 1000. It's twice the price of the King, but it's also more than, it's in terms of like overall usability. I would say, yeah, it's actually probably twice as better because it's much slower wearing. It's a better responsive stone. It feels a lot better as you're sharpening it, and you can sharpen pretty much any knife I've ever put on that stone up to a 66 Rockwell. So the King 1000 can only sharpen knives up to a 62 to maybe a 63 Rockwell, but the Cyrax 1000 can definitely handle knives much higher. The next stone above the Cyrax 1000 would be the Trocera 800. The Trocera 800 is essentially very much like the Cyrax 1000, but it's a splash and go versus a soaking stone, and it's actually slightly faster cutting, and it has ever so slightly better feedback. And so to me, it's a next logical stone to go to. It's about $20 more than the Cyrax 1000. Is it worth the $20 difference in price? No, if you're looking at just raw performance, because the Cyrax 1000 really is that good of a stone. If you want a splash and go at that price range, it actually doesn't exist. The Naniwa the Naniwa Superstone 1000 is a splash and go, but it is very slow. It doesn't have great feedback, and it costs the same as the Cyrax 1000, so you're better off buying the Cyrax 1000. There really isn't any other splash and goes out there right now. Suehiro just sent me the Debato series, which are splash and goes, and they cost the same as the Troceras. So I haven't used them side by side yet. I will do a full comparison between them, between all the grit levels side by side of the Debato Splash and Goes and versus the Troceras. So stick around for that. So you have essentially four budgets at this point. At $10, you have the Sharp Pebble 1000, 400 1000. At $20, $25, you have your King 1000, Deluxe 1000, and then at $50, $55, you have your Suehiro Cyrax 1000, and then at $75 to $80, you have your Trocera 800. At the two last stones, they can handle any knife you can put at them. And I've sharpened both of those stones. I've sharpened knives up to 66 Rockwell on both stones, and they both handle it fairly well, or very, very well. So those two stones, between those two stones, there are no other better sharpening stones for your money. All right, so the next question we have here is from Daniel Storer. Can you recommend your regular maintenance or preparation of the knife before, throughout a cooking session, and weekly? So I have posted a video not long ago of what I do for my knives. At this point, I don't have the time to sharpen my knives on a daily basis, and so what I do is I actually strap my knives every 3 to 4 days. I keep a leather strap under my sink, and every 3 to 4 days I grab my knives that I'm using and actually strap that knife on the strap for 10 to 15 seconds, and that's really all I do at this point. Before I had 3 kids, I actually would sharpen my knives every 2 to 3 days, or every 1 or 2 days, and that was actually really nice. And I would spend 15-20 minutes sharpening my knives, and that was because to me that was more of a meditative aspect of my life. I don't have that time anymore, so to me it's all about time now. The stropping is the easiest thing I can do. I'll post a video link to that video here or in the video's description. You can check it out there. And for those who don't want to strop, a honing rod will do just fine. A ceramic honing rod or a diamond plate or diamond coated honing rod can do fine. Whether you get a $5 honing rod from your knife kit that most knives come with, or you can spend up to 50, 60 bucks on a ceramic or a diamond rod. The job of that rod is to pretty much do the same thing. It's gonna hone and realign your knife's edge. Stropping and honing is a little different, so let me explain the major difference between the two methods. Honing rods realign, and they don't take off, they do take off material, but they don't take off that much material. And so they basically are just kind of re-straighten your knife's apex. Stropping is actually taking off micro materials, and so it's not realigning anything. If your knife is unaligned and has a dent on it, the stropping won't pull that dent off. But if your knife edge, the apex, has slightly, deformed cutting surfaces at the micro level, then the stropping will actually pull off any excess material and kind of expose new surfaces, new cutting surfaces. So it really depends on what you're trying to achieve. If you are a professional cook and you're using softer knives, so if your knives are heat treated up to a 50, I would say up to a 57 to maybe even a 58, honing rods will work a lot better for you in that case because your knives are fairly soft. The honing rods will have a much easier time realigning that edge. If you have a Japanese knife or a knife that is heat treated from a 59 and above, then stropping will probably do a little bit better because it's not trying to realign the edge, but pulling off materials from the cutting edge to expose new cutting surfaces. It really depends on what you're looking for, and really depends on your knife type. Just think about what you have and see which method will work better for you. Okay? Alright, so today's question is from Oasis. Interesting to see someone who uses knives come in and learn. I think that was referring to Harry, that was the barbecue pitmaster Harry that came in here and sharpened knives with me. So I like his style, approach, and honesty. A question that comes to mind with respect to the Yanagiba is there any rectification when you eventually flatten the back of the blade? Okay, so that's a question I get a lot. As an aside, the Sharpen Pro 320 is my favorite stone. Okay, so very good. Okay, so the question is, once you flatten the backside or flat side of your Yanagiba, is there any rectification for that? And the answer is no. Unless you have a what they call those wheel stones, those massive wheel stones that are like 2 to 3 feet in diameter, and the curvature of that diameter is actually just enough to actually create a hollow grind for the back of your Yanagiba, you can't replicate that unless you have one of those things, and those things cost tens of thousands of dollars. I am actually gonna use one pretty soon. I have been invited by a very special company to actually go and train and learn how to sharpen knives the traditional Japanese way. Oh, it's gonna be so much fun. Yeah, so I will post that video up when the training happens. I will be traveling for that, so I can't tell you guys too many details, but I will be traveling overseas and to a number of different places to actually train and meet some of the best sharpeners in the world. Or train with and meet some of the best sharpeners in the world. So yeah. Yeah, so answer your question is no. Once that flat spot, or that hollow grind on that flat spot is gone, you really can't replicate that unless you have tens of thousands of dollars just to sharpen your knives with. Or the best way is just go to one of those sharpeners in Japan and give them your knife, and they'll charge you whatever, $5-10 to re-sharpen that knife in that way. Yeah, so unfortunately you can't do that. I apologize. Really quick shop update here. So I have these straps here. I have about a half a dozen of each available. I'm labeling these as demo straps, but they're technically not demo straps. They're pretty much brand new. They are hand sanded versus being chamfered, so all the corners are not quite as finished as my other production plates are. So these are just test units, and basically we're just testing how the finish is on these things. And so overall they are finished. There's no sharp edges anywhere. Nothing will cut you, nothing will harm you. But just I'm not quite satisfied with how they turned out in terms of the chamfering of the corners and of the edges. Yeah, so I have about 6 of each straps available for grabs. They're up for $35 for the Latigo and $37 for the Buffalo. Both great straps. I mean, they work really well, and I will post a link in the video description to them, to my Etsy store. You guys can just check it out there. Alright guys, with that it'll be it for this video. Thank you for being here, and good luck on the Nakiri giveaway. And for my subscribers who actually use Reddit, is it worth my time to hop on Reddit? I mean, I have so little time as it is. I don't think I can hop on another platform. I'm doing poorly as it is on Instagram and on Facebook, and trying to keep up with YouTube by itself is enough.